Banff National Park. One of the best and most famous national parks in the world. Who doesn't love Banff? Stunning mountain vistas, wildlife roaming all over the place, mountain lions, mountain goats, blocking traffic, causing traffic jams if 3 cars on a double lane road counts as a traffic jam. Anyway, that's what you have to deal with when you go to Banff. It's either way, whether you like my sarcasm or not, it is quite the place. If you haven't been there, you should. And I didn't know until I was there about 6 months ago, and I've been to Banff probably 20 times in my life at least. Banff has its own distillery, and it's called the Park Distillery, and it's located at 219 Banff Avenue. So we went there for dinner actually, and then we stopped by the gift shop afterwards, and we figured why not try some of the local spirits. So my brother-in-law and myself brought home these 4 different select samples. One is a barrel-aged gin. We've got an Alpine gin. We've got the barrel-aged gin, and then we've got the Glacier rye, which is an unaged spirit based on the typical Canadian rye whiskey. So I'm not going to drink or sample these 4 in front of me today because I actually had them all very recently, and I took a little bit of a Cole's notes on the subject. So I figured we would talk about it a little bit today because this is probably a very little known distiller unless you're in Alberta or Calgary. But if you're going there and you want to check it out, I figured maybe some people might Google or hit the YouTube machine and see if there's any information on there. So I just figured I would talk about it briefly today. Now I guess we'll start with this. The barrel-aged gin. I found it to be not like a normal barrel-aged gin. If you, at least if you're from Manitoba or Winnipeg, then we have a distillery called Patent 5. And Patent 5 makes, I don't think they regularly stock it, but they also have a special released barrel-aged gin. Now I have one, my brother-in-law has one, and again, when you see it, like when you see the color, you usually think of like a nice whiskey-colored gin as a barrel-aged gin. This barrel-aged gin isn't like that. Now, I don't really like a botanically type of gin. That's kind of why I like Bombay in the first place, is because it's like it just tastes like gin. It's a no frills gin. It's not a botanical bomb. It's nothing crazy. And yes, I am reading my notes about this. Trying to make it not obvious, but I'm reading the notes. I don't like my gin tasting green, if that makes any sense. Like I don't. Every once in a while, if I'm in the mood, then yeah, botanicals are cool, they're nice, they're a little bit different. But overall, if I'm having gin, I just want it to taste like gin. I want it to taste like old school gin. I don't want it to be fancy. I don't want it to be all botanically and garden and flowery like in my mouth. I don't want that. I just want it to be normal. Again, that's usually why, for the most part, we'll have Bombay gin, because it's a little bit cheaper than something like Aviation gin. It's just what you want. Either way, you're going to mix it. Sometimes I'll have it straight. Sometimes I'll mix it. I usually, like I mentioned before, most of the times I have spirits, I'm drinking it straight. Even with gin, a lot of people find it disgusting, whatever. I don't like tonic. I find tonic disgusting, so I don't do gin and tonics. But whatever, that's just me. So I figured we would try out the barrel-aged gin because, of course, again, we were comparing it to the Patent 5. Now, to me, if you're looking at this and you're looking at I don't know how hard it is or easy for you to see, but this is pretty clear. Like this is very clear. Like this is not even like a pale whiskey. Like that is almost as clear can get. So at that point, why bother with barrel aged at all? Because you're clearly not having it barrel aged long enough to make it, or to take advantage of the fact you're aging it in a barrel. So to me, it's kind of like with the barrel-aged gin, I wasn't really a big fan of it, just because I didn't find it was aged enough. I found it was a little bit harsh. I'll read the back, just so you get a sense of it. It is 42.6% alcohol by volume, and these are 200 milliliter bottles. Like the Great Grizzlies of Banff National Park, our barrel-aged gin sleeps through the winter season, the gin hibernates for 180 days, cozy and snug in ex-bourbon barrels. You don't wake a sleeping bear, and we don't bottle this gin until it's fully rested. Now, I actually don't know for Patent 5, I don't know how long they age it for. I'll try and Google it quick and maybe I'll throw it on the screen here. But it's got to be more than 180 days because, I mean, look at the color. Look at the color in this Patent 5 out of Winnipeg. Like, that's a barrel-aged gin. This stuff, again, very plain. I wasn't that impressed. I would probably skip it unless, if you're going to be mixing it, then it doesn't matter anyway. Next, we're dealing with the Alpine gin. So my brother-in-law and I wanted to go to try and compare some of the gins here. So again, Alpine gin. Some of the notes I got here. The Alpine gin tastes almost as if you can smell the pine trees. Like as if when you're going for a hike, if that makes any sense. It's not so much botanicals, but pine needles, and that I kind of thought that before I even read the back. So when you read the back, it says the hand-picked Canadian spruce tips define our crisp Alpine gin. Fitting. Vapor distilled in a custom-built Cawthor copper still. We took care of foraging for the perfect botanicals. Now you just need to forage for some tonic, limes, and a glass. The Alpine gin I did like more than the barrel-aged gin. It is a little bit more botanically, but I kind of didn't mind that piney, sprucey taste. It kind of did make me think of just being out for a walk and like smelling that fresh pine smell, so it was kind of cool. Again, I'm kind of glad we only again bought a 200 ml tiny bottle because like it was okay, but I probably wouldn't buy it again. Now we're going to the maple rye. This is an unaged blended spirit, a maple rye. And you know what, this one I actually am going to pour really quick. Just because, and we got the Park Distillery glass here. Just because. This is actually my brother-in-law's glass I'm borrowing. He picked up the Glencairn to add to his collection. So on the notes, or on the nose, pardon me. Actually, I'm going to pour just a little bit more here, just because it's a little weak smelling. Yes, okay. This reminded me when we had it the first time. On the nose, it honestly, you just get the tiniest sense of maple syrup. Like barely, almost so like some people might not even notice it. But then when you taste it, it's basically like drinking maple syrup. Like this stuff is strong. Like this maple rye, this is basically just pouring like maple syrup in a glass. That's what it tastes like. Like it doesn't even taste like alcohol. There's no burn there at all. It's very smooth. It's very sweet. Like you probably wouldn't want to have more than one or two of these. It's very sweet. This would actually probably kick ass on the slopes. So instead of, I know a lot of people do Fireball, or I usually prefer like salted caramel Baileys when snowboarding. But actually this stuff probably wouldn't be that bad for like a nice little cocktail, a little shot while skiing or snowboarding. Probably wouldn't be that bad at all. Very, very sweet. Mixing with cola would probably be instant diabetes, so it probably wouldn't do that. This would definitely be something to do straight or on the rocks. And again, if you watch my other videos, I'm not usually an advocate for on the rocks, but this actually probably wouldn't be that bad. Last up, we got the Glacier Rye, which is an unaged grain spirit. If you know anything about Canadian ryes at all, even ones that are aged for like 5 or 6 years can usually be kind of harsh. This one's unaged, so I'm going to try it again just to kind of, because I've had more experience with the gins, so this one I can't really remember. So, just make sure I rinse this out. Well, let's go. I don't really have fond memories of this, but It smells like it just came out of the still, basically. It doesn't burn, but it just smells like it's new. And that's the funny thing, like it doesn't burn, even though like I've got a decent amount here, and like, yeah, I just rinsed the glass, but there's basically just water residue in there. It's not like I mixed it with a whole bunch of water. That's the funny thing. Yeah. You want some of this? Put you to sleep really nice. You'll sleep really well tonight. Actually, his name's Jasper. Not too bad this wasn't in Jasper National Park. That would be really fitting. But we're talking about Banff here, not Jasper. Okay, actually, you know what? I take it back. That's better than what I was expecting or what I thought I remembered. It still is very unkempt, if that can be used here. Like it doesn't burn like you think it would be. Like it is pretty decently smooth, but it tastes like homemade brew. It tastes like home brew. Like my neighbor years and years ago, or my neighbor's dad, or I guess they were both my neighbor, but like I think we were like barely 18, and his dad was making some stuff in the basement or whatever, and so he gave us some, and this is kind of what it reminds me of. This isn't as harsh, but it's kind of the similar flavor and taste. It kind of tastes like home hooch. This would be one, I mean, you could drink it on its own, I guess, like it's smooth enough, but the flavor just isn't there. It kind of tastes like rubbing alcohol mixed with water, just without the burn. If home brew is straight rubbing alcohol, then this is like rubbing alcohol cut with half water. So like it's okay. Overall, the Park Distillery out of Banff, I wasn't blown away with any of these four anyway. I believe they do have other things. I think they have a pretty big selection actually. But yeah, I gotta say, if you're doing, people are just gonna say I'm being biased here, but I'm honestly not. Like if I like these more, I would say so. I definitely think Patent 5 out of Winnipeg makes a better spirit. So Patent 5 has that. They have the Purple Blossom Gin, which is basically their take on the Empress Gin. They've got a gin. Their gin also is very botanically. So I usually also don't go with the Patent 5 gin because it's just too botanical for me. Their vodka's pretty good. I kind of go between that and the Reka Icelandic vodka. I have an empty bottle here. This is my go-to vodka. This stuff is unreal. I'm pretty much buying this all the time. Like I really like Belvedere, but Belvedere is over $50 a bottle. This is like $35. And this is almost practically just as good. It's super smooth. Excuse me. It's just as smooth as the Belvedere. It's just got a little bit of a different taste. If we're talking about vodkas really quick, this Reka is small batch vodka, handcrafted in Iceland. It's Glacier spring water. It's distilled with renewable energy. It's lava rock filtered. So like, how can you go wrong with that? I know this was supposed to be talking about Banff, but just since I have a habit of getting on tangents about this or that, potato, when it comes to like vodkas, and I know it's not fair because they don't have a vodka, at least that I have here, but either way, when it comes down to it, I mean, Park Distillery is okay if you're there. I would definitely recommend going. They got a really cool tap room. They've got all the stills, the stainless steel stills, set up all the plumbing and all that, like definitely visible even when you're in the restaurant. So it's very cool to see. We were even on the second floor, which is very neat. Pretty decent food. But as for just the drinks, like kind of ho-hum. I wasn't blown away with it. I would say I would take the Patent 5 over Park Distillery. But yeah, if you're in Banff, definitely check them out. I believe Canmore also has its own distillery too. I just can't remember what it's called. But yeah, if you're in Banff, definitely check them out. And you know what, even like there's no harm in just buying the 200ml bottles. Like they're not that expensive. You can buy a whole bunch, bring them home, try them out, share them with your friends. That's kind of the best part of it, is just sharing a travel experience with your friends that either couldn't go on the trip with you, or if you all went skiing, then you can all try it out and relive the memories too. So Park Distillery, I would say definitely if you're there, try it out. Definitely would be worthwhile, but overall I probably wouldn't buy any of these again.